Okay, so this is a video tutorial on making a microtonal instrument in Ableton that allows you to automate the pitches so you can escape from being stuck with a fixed scale. You can also map this to a controller. I've come up with a method that allows you to precisely switch between two pitches for each key so that in the live settings you can easily have 24 notes, although you can only have 12 at one time. And when you're working with automating in a production or something, you can have really as many pitches as you're willing to automate between for each key. So it's quite useful if you do microtonal music, and let's get into it. So in essence, the way this works is you create an instrument rack. And by the way, I've done some preliminary setup, but I haven't tuned this instrument yet, and I'm going to walk through that as part of the tutorial. So in a way, it's a bit of a, tuning for just intonation tutorial as well, which is the main tuning system that I work in. All right, so how this works is you load up an instrument rack. Then you create as many instruments as you want pitches in your scale. So I'm going to just tune up a diatonic scale here with 7 notes, but you can very easily imagine how to extend this to a 12-note chromatic scale. This is just for simplicity here. So you can probably start to see what's going to happen. You use this MIDI effect, which is the scale effect. Now, I've just created presets for this for each pitch class, so you can tell that's the name of the preset I've loaded. And what this does is when you play, only this pitch class will be allowed through to make it over to your instrument. So, when I play a C, it only comes through on this channel, and then D only comes through here, and so forth. You can watch the progression going up. Oh, I have a B flat, not a B. It says designed for F major, so that's the scale I'm going to tune. So, why do you do this? Well, what it allows is tuning, using the detune function, which normally would globally detune the entire instrument. You can tune it for each pitch class. So that's great. And I just loaded up sine waves in the wavetable here for simplicity, but you can do this for really any built-in instrument in live, any VST that allows global detuning. In fact, if it doesn't allow global detuning and you have a pitch shift plugin, I feel like most VSTs would allow you to do that, but if for some reason you can't detune the VST you want to use, you could always put a pitch shift plugin in the chain afterwards to detune it. So you can really apply this technique to just about anything, any MIDI instrument that you want to use. So, of course, you might start running into CPU issues if you have like a bunch of instances, 12 instances of any instrument you want to use. But I use this quite a lot, and even with like contact instruments and stuff, within reason, it hasn't totally messed me up. So now let's get into tuning it and also mapping, for control with a MIDI controller, because that's probably now if you're trying to set this up and automate it, you already pretty much see what you would need to do, right? So, say let's start making a just regular major scale. So our F's going to stay 0, Now, here's a useful fact is when you're changing these values, make sure to type in the number you want if you need a certain amount of precision that isn't available here. For instance, G should be 3.91 cents higher for the 9/8 ratio that we want for our just scale. But it only shows, it doesn't show any decimal places, right? Like, however, when you type it in, it comes up at 4 cents. But look at the tuner. It comes in at 3.9. So this is extremely useful to know. And actually, because I am not satisfied with the degree of resolution, that's afforded by only the 100 cents, I shied away from this method for a long time. And finally one night, I'm wit's end trying to figure out how to do this, and I decided to type in some decimals and see if it did anything. And in fact, it does. So I kind of wish that they made that clearer. Now, you'll say, okay, why'd you type in the 1, right? You know, it only is showing 9 here. Well, it, you know, that's just as resolved as the tuner goes. But I haven't tested exactly what the limit of this is. However, you know, if you, for instance, look at hertz here instead of cents, you can still notice a difference at least a few decimal places in. So really cool. Good to know. All right. So anyway, let's just enter in some of the other pitches now. So for our A, we want that to be a major third. So minus 13.68. That's what we have there. Really nice, pure, just third. Our C. 1 point. I'm just going to type in these numbers. Okay. Okay, and sorry about that. Took a second, but so now we have a Ptolemaic major scale here. Well, so anybody who, you know, if you have some experience with just tuning, you know about what happens to this defective fifth we get here, right? This extremely narrow fifth that results from having a in tune 1 chord, an in tune 4 chord, in tune 5 chord. But to create those pure intervals in those chords, you end up ruining the fifth in your 2 chord. I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of ruin, right? You could decide, well, I'm just going to use this narrow fifth, or gray fifth, I believe is the name of the interval. I'm just going to use this expressively or whatever. But say you want to be able to correct that while you're playing. Okay, so here's where the, you know, mapping it to a MIDI controller becomes very useful. So what you can do is go into your MIDI mapping mode. I've got my controller here, and select the detune for the pitch you want to be able to alter, and map it to whatever control you want. All right, so, oh wait, I need to stay in MIDI mapping mode. Okay, so now you can see it has a range of 50 cents in either direction. We don't want that. We want to set the minimum as the number for the lower of the 2 intervals we want, and set the maximum for the higher of those 2. So in this case, to have the D that is a 5/4 ratio with B flat for my 4 chord, I'm going to want a minimum of 15.64. That's the, well, I'm not going to explain where I got that. You could find out about that some other place. So, great. So, we have that there. Now, the maximum, I want 5.86. And that is, the interval between these two is called the syntonic comma. That's the amount that you need to raise that extremely flat fifth to make it into a pure fifth. So now, when I move my slider here, detunes it exactly the amount I want. So I don't have to try to do this by ear or anything. So I get this really nice fifth. Well, my phone just dinged. Should have turned that off. Okay, so I get this really nice fifth between G and D. Now, then say I want to move to my 4 chord. Just gotta drop it down. And it's a syntonic comma lower. So this is one particular just intonation application of this, but you could really use it for anything. Making any type of scale where you want to be able to switch between, different tunings of the same key live. And again, if you're automating these as part of a production rather than for live performance, really there's no limit. You can just switch the pitch wherever it needs to be switched by automating this detune parameter, and you can go as far as you want. You could have 100 different pitches in your track or composition or whatever you are making. So I found this to be extremely useful. And I also really like, by the way, being able to use this slide as an expressive effect sometimes. Can be a cool thing to start with the fifth being out of tune and then pull it up. So anyway, I hope that was helpful if you are interested in microtuning and Ableton, and thanks for watching.